All right, what's up, everybody? What's up? Avatar Ken here. And today we're going to be shaking it up a little bit, basically. I thought that what I would do is I would start having my streams be more focused, basically, right? So now instead of just doing a general debate stream, what I'm going to be doing, basically, is I'm going to be picking a specific topic to talk about. And that'll just be like the main topic. It won't be the only thing we can talk about, but it will be basically the main event, so to speak. So I'm just gonna start off with asking everybody how they were, especially to the people who will watch this stream later. Like, how are you? I hope you had a great day. I'm having a pretty good day. I had some Chick-fil-A for breakfast. I love their breakfast bowls. But yeah, I'm trying to I will be playing the game while I'm doing this, Borderlands 2. I will be doing that. Go ahead, turn off this controller and change. But yeah, so basically the topic of discussion today is basically which ship is the best for Zuko, right? Because I know that shipping is like a really, really big thing in the Avatar fandom. And I made a video yesterday that went into why specifically I thought that him and May were a good ship and not a bad ship. But obviously there's gonna be people who disagree with that. And there's gonna be people who bring up the other two ships I have here, right? Which is Zutara and Jinko, basically, right? Because those are two other girls that Zuko had kind of a thing with. Basically, depending on who you're talking to, like I don't really think. I'll just go ahead and be honest. I honestly think that Mako absolutely is the best ship and the best option for Zuko. And I do have several options as to why I think that. Like, I'm not just gonna say that as like an aesthetic thing. Like, no, I actually think that is the best relationship for Zuko to have, and the one that would probably be the most healthy, right? So basically, what I'm gonna get into is option. Oh, what's up, Sammy? What's up? So basically, what I'm gonna get into is the reason why I'm gonna start with Jinko. The reason why I don't think Jinko is a very good ship for Zuko is because, like, I think when people look, I'm gonna be honest about this too. Like, I might piss a couple people off, but this is where I really think. I really think that the reason why people ship Jin with Zuko is because they really want to ship her with themselves, right? Like she is a very, very like attractive character design, and she's like basically like that kind of like girl next door kind of like character, like that basically what a lot of, men or lonely men in real life would probably want out of a woman. And I think that's the reason why people ship him so much with Zuko is because, like, I think what they're kind of doing is projecting onto Zuko, right? And the reason why I say that is because even though in the episode, like, I'm not gonna deny it, Zuko did say that he enjoyed the date that he went on with Jin. If you really kind of pay attention to that date, you'll realize that like the writers were never trying to go for like they were never trying to imply that Zuko would ever have much of a romantic connection to Jin, right? The whole point of Jin and the whole point of that episode, I think, is mostly to advance Zuko's current character arc at the time. And Zuko's current character arc at that time was basically, I could have a really good life in Ba Sing Se, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to prevent that from happening because I don't want to let go of the fact that I should be on the throne of the Fire Nation, right? And that's what Zuko's whole arc in Ba Sing Se is basically about. It's about him struggling to come to terms with not even having a chance to like go back home and become Fire Lord. Because his whole Zuko's whole deal was, if I find the Avatar and I capture him, I get to come home and I get to regain my honor, right? Obviously, that was meant to be like a fool's errand. Like no one actually thought that Zuko would be able to do that. But then Aang actually showed up, so things changed, right? But after Zuko, like basically was like revealed to be actively treasonous to the Fire Nation by being the Blue Spirit, and they got like all and him and Iroh got exiled, right? After after that happened, basically, there was no hope of Zuko ever regaining his honor and going to the Fire Nation, at least in his eyes. Like he was obviously able to do it, but that's only because Azula lied for him. That was the only reason, right? So that is basically the background to this ship. The background to this ship is Jin is only really there to further Zuko's story, right? It's supposed to be kind of like a tragic thing of anybody in real life would want to be Jin's boyfriend. Like she's like basically the perfect girl, right? Like she's super nice. She has kind of like a like she has kind of like a more like eccentric personality. She's very sweet. Like she has all the traits, or at least the superficial ones that we would want, in a girlfriend, right? But Zuko is like deliberately trying not to make a life in Boston Say and not to be happy. So like it was never gonna work with her at least at that point. Now look, I will say that I do think that there is a possibility that later on, right? Like if Zuko were to come back after like he had kind of like had his arc about regaining his honor, I think those two would have a much better I think those two would have like a much better chance at a relationship then, right? But I don't think that they really ever had a chance of a relationship when it was actually happening. Like in that moment, Jin and Zuko, like as a ship, just will not work. My stream, no, it didn't. Let me see. My stream did not end. What's she talking about? Oh, maybe it. Wait. Sammy, my stream did not end, man. I don't know what you're talking about. It must have ended for you. But I'm sorry. I'll get back into it. Basically, what I was saying is, Jin and Zuko could never have worked when they actually went on a date. But after Zuko had kind of regained his honor, had went through the arc, then they would have a much better chance. I feel like I'll entertain that. I'll entertain that they could have had like a romantic relationship then. But even then, I think if we examine both of their personalities, I still don't think that it would work, right? And it's not just their personality, it's also like their life circumstances. That would also kind of get into this. And I think that is fair to bring those things up because circumstances in life do impact relationships, even if there is chemistry there. I think that there could be more chemistry with them, especially after Zuko mellowed out. But the main problem is going to come down to personality, and it's going to come down to like, I feel like occupation. And what I mean by personality is like Jin kind of comes off. I can't prove this, and I guess there probably is a little evidence to the contrary. But in my opinion, Jin comes off as the kind of girl who like probably wants to have some adventures and wants to travel a little bit, but probably not too far from home. Like she probably doesn't want to live the kind of life that Zuko lives, where he's constantly on the move sometimes, or other times he's constantly in one place having to do very, very important like leadership stuff. Like I don't think that that's the kind of person that Jin would be. I think Jin would be somewhere in the middle where she would maybe crave a little bit of adventure, but I don't think she would want to constantly be going around the world. on missions and trips, especially like the kind that like Fire Lord Zuko would have to go on. And I also don't think that she would be comfortable with like a lot of people. I wonder if she knew that Zuko's a firebender, and the way they kind of portray it is like she'd be stupid if she didn't. But to be honest, I've always kind of found that moment confusing because I'm like, if she knew that he was actually a firebender, I don't think there's any chance that she would have stayed in that relationship, right? Like I know, and like some people might be like, oh well, but maybe she doesn't know about the war. She knows about the war before it happens. And the reason I can tell you that is because most of the people like in the outer ring of Boston say are refugees, right? So they are there most likely because the Fire Nation attacked them. So she most likely knows about the whole war and stuff. And if she knows about the war, she probably wouldn't be too happy about like Zuko's family's role in it, right? So I feel like even if she thought that Zuko had changed, I don't know if she would be able to overcome the fact that Zuko has been on the wrong side of this before, and Zuko's family is the one that has started and perpetuated that war. I think that that would kill the relationship, right? Now, if you were to disagree, like if you really don't think that that would kill the relationship, then there's a couple other things I think would kill the relationship between Jin and Zuko. And here's another one. Jin, like I said before, like she has like a very agreeable personality, but I don't think that that's the kind of personality that Zuko would want or need, right? And you might be scratching your head like, oh, he likes May. Isn't she agreeable? No. May is very not disagreeable. Like she's very fierce and she's very opinionated. Like obviously when she's around Zuko, she's not always like that, but she does have that. And I do think that Zuko is the kind of person who does want that in his partner. He needs a partner who can be that way, who can be fiery sometimes, just like him, right? And when looking at Jin, like, I feel like she has a little bit of that, but I don't think she has it in quite the same way that someone like May does, right? Or maybe even someone like Katara, even if we bring her in, I don't think she has like that same passion. I think in a relationship with Jin, like at first it's gonna be fine because at first it's gonna be like, you know, the lovey-dovey feelings, and there's gonna be like, oh, what's up, David Cohen? A lot of the Avatar, The Last Airbender females are very attractive. Also, Jin is very hot. Exactly. So I think that Zuko would actually be attracted to Jin. Like I think there would be a mutual attraction. I just don't think there would be a mutual passion, right? Like when you're in a relationship, I think sometimes people like they hop into relationships because they're attracted to someone, but they don't have like a passion. They don't have like that burning craving to be with this person, right? And like I'm talking about in a way that is not sexual, in a way that is not like just lovey-dovey feelings, right? Like they don't have like that passion, that eagerness to be with this person, regardless of if, you know, we're making out or we're doing other things. I don't think a lot of people think about that. Like you have to in a relationship, you have to be with someone who you feel that same way about, whether you're doing sexual stuff or not. Otherwise, I feel like it's gonna run out. Like the feelings are not gonna last and it's gonna run out basically. Maybe not in every relationship, but like I feel like especially for someone as passionate as Zuko is, he's gonna need that. And I think he has that with May, but I don't think he has that with Jin. And I don't think their personalities would really allow for that, basically. Right? So there's that. There's the fact that he's Fire Nation, the fact that like him and his family's actions have led to a lot of suffering for her and probably a lot of the people that she loves and cares about, right? So there's that. And I think that those two things combined would be enough to make it so that maybe if you didn't know, it could last for a little bit, but it would be like a summer fling, basically, right? This is gonna be a relationship that does not last all that long. Maybe a couple months at most. And then they both just kind of go their separate ways, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's what I think about Jinko. And obviously, if anyone has any questions or anything, I'll keep talking about that ship specifically. But for now, I'm done with that. I'm going to talk about why Zutara does not work for me, right? Now, first of all, like on paper, Zutara is a better ship than, say, Katang, right? I agree with that. Or at least like kind of used to. Now I have actually turned it around. I actually like Katang more now than Zutara. And a lot of it has to do with it straight up just makes more sense, I feel. And I know that's a hot button topic, but I really do think it makes more sense. I'm not going to go into that right now, but that's what I think about that. But basically, we have to look at it this way. The thing I said about Jinko not working out because there's no passion, I think that there would be a lot of passion in this relationship, right? I'm not even gonna doubt that for a second. That's gonna be, and I think that's gonna be the main thing that they have that makes their relationship work. I feel like this is a relationship that could work for a year or more, right? So there's gonna be a whole lot of passion and there's gonna be a whole lot of respect, right? It's gonna be a ton of respect. So like there might not be quite as much like mutual attraction as with Jin. I think Zuko would probably be more like straight up attracted to Jin, but I think that he would have like 10 times more passion for Katara. And it's because, like some of it is like the opposites attract thing, but also it's like she's a bender, right? And I'm not saying that makes her better than Jin. It doesn't. But I think that is going to kind of get into it. Now I'm going to read a comment real quick. I don't crave going out with girls anyway. Also, remember when Bolin was attracted to Korra? Yeah, I do remember that. I didn't like it that much. But basically to get back into Zutara, right? So there's gonna be a whole lot of passion. They're both benders and they're both like fighters, right? So that's also gonna contribute to the passion because like Zuko is basically dealing with a woman who can kick his ass, right? He's dealing with a woman like who like can go toe to toe with him and beat him. So there's gonna be a lot of passion there, right? But like the passion is gonna be, I think, the thing that gets to them. Cause they like I think the respect thing, like they both lost their mothers and they both have like this soft side and this hard side that comes from their upbringing. So yeah, I do think that like the respect and the passion are off the charts. The problem is I know I did say earlier that passion is a really good thing in a relationship. It is, but it's kind of like that thing where too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. I think that's basically what would happen in this relationship. They would be too passionate, right? Like because they're both like exceptionally powerful benders and they're both exceptionally powerful personalities, I feel like they would argue a lot and I feel like they would disagree a lot. And these arguments and these disagreements would be heated, right? Like this isn't gonna be like a normal argument. This is gonna be they're gonna be up in each other's face and they're gonna like they're not gonna fight or anything, but I'm not gonna say that there won't be some water and some fire pushed out. Like I'm not gonna. It's gonna get like that, right? Zuko is gonna do dumb stuff, right? He's gonna do dumb crap or make stupid mistakes or decisions, right? And like Katara's gonna be like, I told you that wasn't the right decision, and they're gonna get into like fights about that sort of thing. And then when Zuko messes up, right, he's gonna have like a temper. It's not gonna be the same as it used to be, but it's still even in the show you could tell that like that part of him never really went away. He still kind of has like that hot temper. right? So like that's gonna be in the relationship, right? Like with Aang barely has that, right? Aang is a sweetheart, right? So she's not gonna have that problem with Aang. Like if Aang needs help or needs guidance, right? Uh Qatar, like he's gonna listen to Qatar, right? Like it's not gonna be a thing where I told you not to do that and you did it anyway, or I told you not to say that and it hurt me, right? Because that's another thing. Like Zuko probably isn't gonna hold that much back. You can see that with him and May, right? Where like when him and May like get into arguments, he's not afraid to go there. He's not afraid to show the temper or to get angry, and she's not afraid to call him out for it. But it's like I feel like May would have maybe a little bit more patience with that than Katara would. Katara would understand it probably more. Like I'm not gonna say that she wouldn't understand it more. She probably would, but I don't think she would put up with it as much, right? So they're gonna be getting in each other's face. They're gonna be getting heated, but like they're at the same time, right? I feel like they're also gonna be like getting back together over and over. So like they're gonna have a strong relationship, but it's not gonna be consistent either, right? Like they're gonna be getting into big arguments, breaking up. Everyone's gonna think that they're done, and then a week later they'll be back together. A month later they'll be back together, right? It's gonna work like that, in my opinion, right? I'm gonna pause to read another comment. David Cohen. Well, to be fair, Zuko and Katara learned to trust each other. Zuko helped Katara find her mother's killer, and Zuko is a genuine guy. Yes, yes, the thing. Like, I'm not talking about that. I said that they did have the respect for each other, and that's kind of what you're going into. Yeah, they have an immense amount of respect for each other. But what I'm saying is, it's not the respect that's going to destroy the relationship, in my opinion. It's going to be the passion, and it's going to be like the headstrongness. We're talking about two of the most stubborn people in like the Avatar world that we see, right? Like when Katara believes something, she really believes it. When Zuko believes something, he really believes it. They're so similar in that way that I think it's gonna inevitably end up making them butt heads, right? So they're gonna be having big fights a lot, and they're gonna be misunderstanding each other a lot, and they're gonna be like, you know, breaking up and getting back together a lot, in my opinion, right? That's how I feel that relationship is gonna go, basically. And because of that, I would say, yeah, these two could survive a lot, and they could go through like a year of a relationship. But it's gonna be those personalities butting heads that is gonna end up with them not even necessarily breaking up, but like coming to like the mutual understanding. Like I think they're both gonna get it. I think what's gonna happen is they're both gonna come to the mutual understanding that their relationship isn't healthy. They respect each other and they love each other, but their relationship isn't healthy because they both have very strong personalities, right? And they fight too much. They fight too much and they separate too much, right? Even though they understand each other, they're still not getting anywhere. So I think after about a year, both of them would be like, you know what, we tried and it just didn't work. But we still want to be friends. Obviously, like we're not gonna stop talking to each other. We still want to be friends. We still care about each other, and there's still that passion there. But like in terms of a relationship, we're not gonna make it. Basically, I think they would both be able to acknowledge that. Now, this is just my opinion. If you think that they could overcome those issues, that's okay. I don't really think that they could. I think that that would keep them from being in a serious relationship for like the rest of their lives. I think it would work for a year, maybe even two, but it's not going to work for like 30 years, 40 years, right? So that's the like reason why I feel like Zutara could work, but it would not like end up with like an end game relationship like Katang. All right, so now I'm gonna be talking about like the ship that probably happened. Like the dumb thing about avatars that we have all these gaps. So I can't even technically prove that this is the ship that happened. And a lot of people are gonna use that alone to tell me that this ship is bad or this ship didn't happen or didn't work. just because they broke up in the comics. Like I do know about that. But I don't think they're gonna stay broken up. And I also kind of think that like the circumstances between them breaking up weren't the best. Or at least what they did with it wasn't the best. Like but anyway, getting into that, what I'm saying is May and Zuko, and I've already kind of went into this, May and Zuko, in my opinion, are the best of these ships out of the three. And I think that this is a ship where, yeah, there's gonna be the arguing, yeah, there's gonna be the misunderstanding, but in the end, eventually they're gonna find like a way to balance each other out and they're gonna grow from these arguments. Like they're not the reason I think that, Zutara won't work is because they're gonna have these arguments, but find I don't think they're ever gonna find a good way to like settle the arguments. I think the arguments are just gonna keep happening, right? They're gonna keep butting heads and they're not gonna have a good way to stop it from happening, basically. But with Mei and Zuko, right? I feel like Mei and Zuko have shown, right, that they can have these arguments and they can understand each other in the end. Like they might have really big arguments, but like at the end of the day, they understand that they need each other, right? They understand that they can work on each other to be better, right? Like Mei can make Zuko be more rational and be less emotional, and Zuko can bring out like the parts of Mei that like she suppresses because of her upbringing, right? See, the thing with Zuko and Katara is neither one of them are suppressing themselves. Neither one of them has that, right? Like May has a need to suppress herself because of her upbringing, whereas Katara is incredibly expressive, right? And Zuko is incredibly expressive. And that's like that can be a good thing, but I also think that can be a bad thing when those personalities are around each other and they have like disagreement or they have a fight, right? Like you're gonna end up with things being said that can't be taken back. And you're gonna end up with things being done that can't be taken back, in my opinion, right? Right. I'm gonna pause for a second to read a comment. David Cohen, Korra being the next avatar after Aang was different from Aang, for example, because she wasn't as spiritual as Aang. Also, Iroh and Zuko love each other in terms of being family. When did I say that they didn't, though? What does this have to do with anything? Anyway, basically what I'm saying is I feel like they're gonna balance out, right? Like Zuko and Katara, they might balance out a couple times, but it's never gonna be genuine, right? One of them is always gonna kind of be like, wow, like I let this go and I really didn't want to let this go, or I really don't feel like I was being listened to, right? I think there's gonna be that problem, whereas with Zuko and May, I feel like they're actually gonna work that problem out because May is more like mellow than Zuko is, and Zuko like May's effect on Zuko is that she makes him more mellow, right? So like I said, it's like the Jin thing, right? I was saying with Jin that I don't think she has like the capacity to be the same to bring the same kind of passion out of Zuko that I think that May would, right? Not to say that she doesn't have any like passion or anything. I'm not saying that. This is mostly to say that I feel like she has it, but she doesn't have like the type that Zuko needs, right? Like she's not going around throwing knives at people for fun, right? Like May, like she doesn't have like that kind of killer passion to her that's gonna push like Zuko over the edge in terms of his infatuation, right? She doesn't have like that hurt personality, right? Because some people like that. I think that's something about May that Zuko likes. He might not like the emotionless stuff, but I think he really does like the fact that like when she believes in something or when she wants to do something, when she puts her head to it, she can get it. She's kind of like that. She kind of has like that drivenness that I think that he likes, and I know that her personality is that like she doesn't care about anything. But that's when she's not with Zuko. When May is with Zuko, like I said before, her personality changes. You see her being much more active, much more driven, right? Much more happy. And it's because of Zuko. She's bringing the best out of him, which is one of the reasons why I think that that relationship works. They're bringing the best out of each other. Like they're really getting something out of that, right? They're both putting in something and getting something out. Whereas I feel like with Zuko and Katara, they're both maybe putting too much in, and because of that, they're not getting as much out as they should be, right? That's just my opinion, but I feel like that's what would happen. But I feel like, with Mei and Zuko, they're balancing each other out in a very healthy way, in a way that makes them both happy, and in a way that makes them both grow like a ton, right? I feel like that's what's happening there. They're both like growing from the experience, in which case I feel like Zuko and Katara are both kind of picking away at each other because they're two big personalities, right? So that's what I feel about all of those ships, basically. Sammy, my opinions just make more sense than others. I don't really think my opinions make more sense than others. I really don't. In fact, a lot of other people who have watched this show as much as I have and who have opinions on it could agree with everything I said, but not in the way I said it, right? So I don't think that I have like the best argument on anything. I really don't. Like I'm glad that you said that. Like I'm happy that you said that, but like I'm sure there are other people who could have said that better than me, or could have had the same opinion, or even a different opinion, right? I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna like act like I'm some authority on Avatar. I'm really not. The only difference between me and you is that I have a small platform where like this is all that I do. Like I've seen your platform. I know you cover Avatar, but like the only difference is like I've been around just a little bit longer. That's probably about it. I don't think that my opinion is better than yours or anybody else's. Yeah. So that's basically all I had to say for right now. Like I said, like, these don't just have to be one thing. Like we can talk about other things. I'm gonna think of another topic, but yeah, we don't have to talk about just one thing. We can talk about like all the opinions I have on Avatar, or we can just talk about like straight up like a different show. Actually, here's something I do want to talk about, right? Something that I always kind of wanted to put out there is like what my favorite episodes of Avatar are. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my journal where I wrote it down, and I'm gonna go over my favorite episodes of Avatar and kind of explain why. I feel like that's a really cool thing that I can do real quick. So let me see if I can find where I wrote the. Okay, I found. Wait, yeah, I found it. All right, so basically, a couple days ago, I was working on like what are my favorite episodes of Avatar, right? And I came up with 13 of them. I'm like, well, I have to knock it down to 10. So I will say what my top 10 are, but I'm gonna say every all 13 on here, and then I'm gonna knock it down to what my actual top 10 are. Read a comment real quick. I understand what you're saying, but you really do break it down into a good form. No, well, thank you. Like I said, I there are people out there who could definitely do this better than me, like much bigger YouTubers than me, but I do thank you for that. But anyway, I'm gonna list now like my favorite 13 episodes of Avatar, And it's not gonna be in this isn't in any order. Like I don't even know if I can put this in an order because I like this show so much. But basically what I came down to is Zuko alone, which is that's probably number one. Like if I were to put this into like a list, Zuko alone would be my favorite, probably. The Boiling Rock 2, which is an episode that a lot of people might scratch their head at. They're like, that's your favorite? But really? Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Not my favorite, it's one of my favorites. The Southern Raiders. Like, this is on everybody's list. Like, this is probably half the people in the fandom's number one. This would probably be like my number two or number three, but it'd be really, really close. The Puppet Master. I love this episode, and just like the concept of bloodbending and the way that it's executed, it's so dark, right? Like that's what I like about Avatar is that sometimes they have like these little moments where it stops being a kid's show like at all, right? Like you could be an adult like I am now and still feel the exact same way at the scene that you did when you were a kid. The Storm, which is like that's another episode that's gonna be on everybody's like top 10 list. The Winter Solstice too. I don't think this is gonna be in a lot of people's top 10 list, but I think this is probably actually the most important episode of the entire series in terms of the plot. And it has Avatar Roku in it, who's just like super cool. So that's one of the reasons why it's on here. The Crossroads of Destiny. I love this episode, but the next episode I say I like even more, even though these kind of like they do kind of bleed into each other. I actually like this next one more. The Guru. Now I did say that Zuko alone would probably be my favorite, but I think number two, right, is the Guru. The Guru, like I don't like most people might be like scratching their head. They're like, "What? This episode? The episode with like the Indian guy?" Yes, that episode has some of the deepest meanings in it, and this is probably like the deepest that Avatar ever gets in terms of like the mysticism and like spirituality and stuff, like with the chakras and stuff. There are some truly beautiful scenes in this episode, and I didn't really realize that until the last time that I saw it. And now I'm like, wow, I actually think this is like one of my favorites of all time. It definitely has some of my favorite scenes in it. Like the scene where Aang is opening the air chakra, right? And it's like it's blocked by grief, right? So obviously this is dealing with like the genocide of his people, basically, right? Of the air nomads. And like that's been a thing in the show, but it hasn't really been that. The only thing that makes this scene a tad bit worse than I think it could have been is the fact that they don't go too much into it. Like I really wish they went more into how Aang feels about the air nomad genocide. Like they go into it a little bit, but they don't really focus on it all that much. This scene is still good anyway, but I feel like it could have been better if they went even deeper into how Aang feels about that. But like the scene where like the guru is talking to Aang while he tries to open the air chakra and like you see all the air nomads and Aang is like smiling, he's seeing all of his people and then they all disappear in puffs of smoke and then he starts frowning obviously. That whole sequence is my favorite, especially in terms of what happens next. So like Guru Patik is like he's like narrating the entire scene and he's like the air nomads may be gone, but their love for you has not vanished from this world, right? He's like, love is a type of energy, so it's not going. And then, like, the air nomads puffing into smoke transform into the image of Katara, like when she got Aang out of the ice. Like that was the first face that he saw and like it was literally like the reincarnation of the love that the air nomads had for Aang. It's Katara, right? After you see that scene, I feel like Katang makes 100% sense, at least for Aang, right? Now I know that Katang has a problem with being making 100% sense for Katara, but after seeing that scene in specifically, like you understand exactly why Aang is in love with Katara. Like it's a way, way deeper thing than just he thinks Katara's cute. It's like no, Aang literally views Katara as the reincarnated love of the air nomads. That's like the most mind blowing like romance I've ever heard of. Like I can't think of any other story that has that good of a justification for like one partner to love another, right? And I think that that's like even beyond just the Katang and the romance stuff, just like that is the most beautiful sentiment ever to turn something as deep and as dark as genocide into that, to transform it into new love and new energy, right? Like I'm not like a spiritual person at all, but this makes even me like tremble a little bit. Like this makes even me say, "Wow, this is amazing writing." Right? So yeah, like that's one of the reasons why The Guru is one of my favorite episodes. And that's not even the only scene that makes that's that good. Like there's also the scene where they're talking about how everything is connected and then it like leads into Toph discovering metal bending. Like that's the craziest and the best transition probably in the show. The Guru, like if you don't understand what I'm talking about with the Guru, please go back and watch this episode and pay attention more to the Aang parts, right? Because like that whole sequence is like deeper than most shows, period. Like not this is beyond a kids show. This is beyond a quote unquote adult show. Like the scenes where he's tapping into the chakras and having to overcome these aspects of himself are for real like the deepest stuff in the show in my opinion. It's some of my favorite stuff. I cannot recommend the episode The Guru enough, right? But moving on, right? The desert. This is another episode that gets like the resonance and like the emotions perfectly, basically, right? Because you have Aang having to come to terms with the fact that Appa is missing, right? And it shows a side of Aang that you've never seen before, right? Like you never like you've seen him be a little pissed off, maybe even a lot pissed off, like at the Northern Air Temple when they were destroying like the holy sites of his people, but you've never seen it to the point where you think Aang might actually kill someone, right? You've never seen him that angry before. Like this is Aang's Anakin Skywalker like in the desert moment on Tatooine, basically. Right? He is not he's not playing at all. And like when he like at the end, that whole moment is just peak. That's just peak show, right? This is peak television. Where like he's gonna go nuts on these like sandbenders and like Katara comforts him and makes him calm down. And then you see like what the real emotion was. Because if you don't know, anger is a reactive emotion, right? It's like a reaction to to like really huge amounts of sadness or grief or other things of pain, right? So when she stops him and she gives him the hug, you can see what all of this really was the entire time. Just like incredible grief, incredible sadness. And it's so sad. Like it just shows like that's the thing. The best parts of Avatar are when they deal with the characters and they explore the human condition. Like even in this world where people can shoot fire and water out of their fingertips, the human condition is like just as important, if not more important than it is in the real world. So like that's the reason why the desert's one of my favorites. See how I like the desert is such a good episode that I didn't even say anything about like the whole cactus juice saga stuff, right? I didn't have to, right? Okay, I put the Avatar state on here too. Same thing. Like it just has that moment at the end, right? Where like, obviously General Song is like he's trying to get the Avatar state out of Aang, and it's so sad, right? Because like if you listen in that episode to like the voice acting, it is freaking peak, man. It is peak. Especially when like Aang is he's begging like the general not to hurt Katara or not to trap her under the ground, right? He's literally begging, he's crying, he's begging, like he's not mad, he's not like he's not even like sad. It's more like this is like total desperation, right? And the voice actor Zach Tyler, he is selling that so good. Like I could not reproduce that if I tried. The way he's begging and pleading with him not to do this thing, right? I think like it's moments like that that kind of get overlooked, where you can feel it out of like you're like how whoever was like directing the voice actors is just top notch, right? And then the library, I like this episode too. Like I think the real reason I like this episode is because I agree with Wan Shi Tong's like philosophy about how human beings only seem to want to abuse knowledge, right? We don't want knowledge for knowledge's sake. We want it so we can destroy our enemies. We want it so we can hurt other people or exploit other people or think ourselves superior to other people. It's so sad and it's so true, right? So I think just that is mostly the reason why I like this episode. All right, let's see. The Siege of the North Part 2. Like, I don't really think I need to go into why this episode is so amazing. I mean, it's like the season 1 finale, but there's so many like amazing images, like amazing scenes in this episode. Like I would be here for an hour if that's like the moment of realization when like Aang is realizing what the koi fish really are, that they're like a much deeper thing. Like when Cole is like push and pull, good and evil, yin and yang. Like I love that scene, right? And then like the scene obviously where like Aang and the ocean spirit merge. That's an amazing scene. And then like just Coda Face Stealer in general is just nuts. Like there's a lot of good stuff in that episode. Like, I'm not even gonna go over it all, but there's a lot of good stuff. And then the last thing I put the blue spirit. You said like at the beginning of the episode, just like that kind of monologue that Zuko does to Iroh is so sad. Like you can feel the sadness in him, right? Basically when he's saying he's like, I'm about to lose everything. Cause like, Iroh's he's trying to give Zuko a pep talk. He's like, it's not over. You'll be fine. But he's like, how, uncle? Like, cause like you considered it like Zuko's just one little man on a ship, right? And like Zhao has basically infinite resources. So it's like no wonder he's probably gonna get to the Avatar first, right? And if he does, Zuko will be stuck at sea forever. It's just the voice acting and like the writing is just amazing, right? So those are my those were 13 episodes. Like if I had to, I guess I'll do that. I will go ahead and put these episodes into like a top 10. So I'm gonna have to get rid of a couple of them, but I already did that, right? So wait a second, I'm gonna get like a pen or a pencil so I can do this. All right, I'm back. So basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rewrite them because I already have them written down. I'm gonna write them in what order I think are my favorite. Basically, I'm gonna do my best to try to actually put this into order. So I'm probably gonna start off from 10 and go down because that's the easiest way to do this, quite frankly. So at number 10, out of all of these, I'm probably gonna put uh the Avatar state. I think the Avatar state I'm gonna put in number 10. Like I said, it's still an amazing episode, but I don't think that it's like my favorite by any means. It's just like the things that happen in this episode is one of the reasons why it's in my top 10. Like I didn't even talk about all the Zuko stuff that's amazing. Like solely dedicated to this, but for now I'm just gonna I think I'll talk about some of these enough. So number 9, I'm probably gonna put uh the Puppet Master. Yeah, I'm gonna put the Puppet Master. Like I said, Hama is just an amazing character, and like the her backstory is like heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Like this show, like this is the reason why I have an entire channel dedicated to it. This show is amazing. It is generally amazing. Like I think sometimes it gets overhyped, but like I don't think that anyone would say this show is overhyped if most of the people who do overhyped it actually explain like some of the moments I talked about today, like in the Guru or in like the Southern Raiders. Like if people actually explained why, I don't think anyone would ever say that it was overhyped. All right, so number 8, I'm probably gonna put the desert. All right, number 7, I'm probably gonna put for number 7, let's see, Winter Solstice 2. All right, for number 6, I'm probably gonna put the Siege of the North 2. For number 5, I'm probably gonna put let's see. I'm gonna put the Guru. Like, even though it has probably my favorite whole like moment in the entire series in it, I don't think I could put it over some of the other episodes just straight off of like respect. But like, if I was ranking moments, yeah, it'd be number 1. But since I'm ranking episodes in total, it's gonna be number 5. So for number 4, I'm probably gonna put the Storm. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. For number 3, I'm probably gonna put. Mm, no, actually, for number 4, I'm gonna put Crossroads, and then I'm gonna put the Storm for number 3, and then for number 2, I'm gonna put Southern Raiders, and then for number 1, I'm probably still gonna put Zuko alone because I really like that episode. So, my top 10, at least for right now, because like my top 10 changes a lot. Like if you were to ask me this in 5 years, I'd probably change my mind at least a little bit. And if you had asked me 5 years ago, it would not have been these episodes. But my top 10 as of 2024 is number 10, The Avatar State, number 9, The Puppet Master, number 8, The Desert, number 7, Winter Solstice 2, number 6, Siege 2, number 5, The Guru, number 4, Crossroads of Destiny. Number 3, The Storm. Number 2, The Southern Raiders. And number 1, Zuko Alone. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to be pissed that I didn't put episodes like The Blind Bandit or like episodes like the like Sozin's Comet, stuff like that on there. I like those episodes, but I don't like them as much as these. And like I said, if you were to ask me in a year, I would probably change a couple of these. Not all of them. Like some of these would never change, right? Like I'm never gonna change Zuko Alone. That's always gonna be somewhere. Southern Raiders is always gonna be somewhere. The Storm is always gonna be somewhere. The Guru is always gonna be somewhere. The Puppet Master is probably always gonna be somewhere. And Crossroads might be somewhere, maybe not. I could see maybe taking the desert, the winter solstice Avatar set off of there, replacing them with episodes like Avatar and Fire Lord, stuff like that. But probably not anytime soon. Now I'm probably finna get off because it is getting a little later, but I guess right before I get off, I'll go ahead and I'll also hit you guys with like a ranking really quick of like the books of Avatar, at least Avatar the Last Airbender. Like I'll do a Korra one too. I got enough time for both of those. So this is much easier. So if I was ranking all 3 books of Avatar the Last Airbender, right? At number 3, I would put season 1, book 1, Water. It's not bad, but it's just not nearly as good as the rest, I feel. And I don't think anyone really disagrees with that. I don't think there's like really an Avatar fan out there who likes book 1 better than all of the others. There might be, but I don't think I've ever seen a person who does. Now, this next one is probably going to be super controversial, but I'm actually going to put book 3, Fire. You heard it here first. I actually think that book 3 is inferior, all things considered, to book 2. I think book 2, and let me put that at number 1. I think book 2 of Avatar is the most consistent, and it just has the best plot of the entire show. Like I feel like, and also I feel like if you did averages, I think the best episodes are in book 2 if you did averages, right? I know there's a lot of good episodes in book 1 and book 3, but I think overall, I think book 2 is the best. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with that. But like in terms of Korra, and I know a lot of people don't watch Korra or don't like Korra. I'm not talking to those people. I'm just talking like in general. Now Korra has 4 books actually. So my least favorite is book 2. And like that's really no, I don't think anybody really disagrees with that. That's probably everyone's least favorite season of Korra, book 2. And book 2 of Korra is Spirits. I'm not really gonna go into why, because I think even people who haven't seen Korra know why. And if you really don't, it has a lot to do with Korra's character. Her character really kind of sucks in book 2. Also, it has a lot to do with like the plot and like the whole structure of the series, right? There are episodes in book 2 of Korra that changed the entire franchise, at least perspective wise, that a lot of people have not agreed with or have not come to terms with even to this day. I personally am not really bothered by it, but like some people like straight up think that it ruins like Avatar as a whole. I don't think it goes that far, but book 2 of Korra is my least favorite. Now, my next least favorite book of Korra is actually book 4, right? I don't really care for book 4 that much, right? The only thing about book 4 that I think is like exceptional in terms of Korra is straight up like Korra's like redemption, like Korra healing from what happened during the aftermath of book 3. That's my favorite part of Korra Book 4. Besides that, I don't really like Korra Book 4 that much. Now, The next one is actually Korra Book 1. I actually think Korra Book 1 is pretty good, except for there's like a couple episodes that I don't like. But this is probably actually one of the tightest seasons of Korra. And it started everything off. Like, yeah, you have some problems with Korra's personality. Yeah, you have some problems with like romance arcs and stuff like that. But for the most part, I actually really like book one of Korra. So that's going to be in second place. And I think most people would probably agree with this, or at least a lot of people. Book three of Korra, Change, is straight up my favorite. Because, like I said, it has my favorite villain in Korra, Zahir. It has, like, my favorite character thing with Korra. It has, like, my favorite, like, change to the universe that they made, which is giving, like, the airbenders like bringing the airbenders back. Now, look, I know a lot of people still have problems with that, and I'm one of them. I do have a problem with the fact that them bringing the airbenders back does sort of kind of mess with like the tone of the previous series because like it does kind of just bring them back and it didn't have to happen the slow or hard way. But I I do still like it. So even though I have a couple issues with it tonally, I still think that because Korra chose to actually do something with that concept, that it earned it. It earned it, in my opinion. So yeah. It's been about an hour. Yeah, it's been just over a little bit over an hour now. So I'm probably finna hop off. But I actually had a pretty fun stream today. I actually really did. Like I went into stuff that I didn't think that I would. And I got some more content to make videos out of now. So yeah, I really hope everyone who did show up really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you for showing up. And like I said, I can't wait to get this video out. But to anyone who might be wondering when I'm gonna do this again, basically I could do this just about every day at around this time. The only reason I don't is because there's not always a lot of interest, and sometimes things come up in the morning that get in my way. But besides that, I'm not. I would probably do this every day. Besides that, but yeah, I do have a Discord. Please check my community tab for that, and I also, if anyone who sees this in the future, like, please subscribe if you like what I said. And yeah, I think that's just about all I have to say. So I hope everyone has a great day. And yeah, this has been Avatar Ken's Zuko shipping debate stream. Bye guys.